What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Manga Madhouse. I have a video for you today. We're going to be talking about the new anime series Uzumaki. It was 4 episodes long. It's based on the manga from Junji Ito, which, if you've been following the channel, you know that I read this earlier this year. And when I first finished reading it, I was like, what did I read? Do I even like it? Is it even good? How does this compare? And then I did a live stream talking about it because that was something that, as a group, we kind of read together in the Discord. And as I talked about it with some people in the Discord when I did the live stream, I realized I really did like it. At the time, I didn't think I did because we got Kiere. I was calling her Kyrie. But Kiere, which is, I guess that's kind of how they were saying it in the anime. I didn't like her as a character, which I still kind of didn't like. The anime didn't do much for me in that regard. Shuichi, her boyfriend, I did like him as a character, but I don't think the anime changed anything, in which I don't think that was kind of the goal of the anime. We'll talk about that in a second. The pacing to me was kind of off, but as I think about it more and watching the anime, it kind of makes sense why I liked it, even though at the time I didn't think I did. I'm so used to series that are 20, books long or something like that, 20 volumes long, but this was only 3. And with that, of course, the pacing is going to be a little different. You're not going to get a whole, complete, detailed character story. But I feel like in 3 volumes, you got everything you needed in this manga. Now, like I said, we're here to talk about the anime. So first, I want to talk about the good because I feel as though we can all admit that the bad probably comes from the business side of things. So we'll talk about the good first. So one thing I want to say about the anime series is that I like how it really is just the manga brought to life. And by that, I just mean it's just honestly the manga drawings, but they're moving. I really did like that because it felt very true to the manga. And one thing I felt like they could have done is maybe make it a little more gritty, because I do believe this was created in the 90s. So I felt as though maybe they could have made it like a little more like disgusting looking on purpose. Of course, add a little grit to it, but overall, I think that it looked fine for the most part. And like I said, we'll get into that. But I like how it really is. They didn't really try to do too much. Now, whether that's business reasons or not, I like that it was just a complete adaptation of the manga. I don't think they felt like they needed to change too much when it comes to just how everything was kind of drawn. And I'm trying to say that because there's still some big major flaws, but for the most part, like I get where they were going, I guess is the best thing I could say. So I did like that. I also liked how the sound design. I think the sound effects was just incredible. Whether that's like the wind, whether that's doors creaking, whether that's rustling, bumbling, all that stuff. The music at times, specifically the outro music, I think was like eerie and haunting. I really enjoyed that. It really felt like what I was reading. Like when I was reading this manga, I felt like Junji Ito just does a good job of setting the scenery, and I'm able to, without him really, because it's not like it's described. I think that the art really does it for what you're looking for, and it provides that that scenery, and you feel it just by how it's drawn. Of course, you can actually draw and say wind bustling or whatever the case may be, but I felt like just the grunginess of the art. It automatically does it for you without him ever having to actually touch on it. And I felt like they did a really good job of adapting that into the anime. Lastly, I would say that if anything, I would think that maybe it could have been a movie or just like a really, really long episode. I don't know. Something about it being broken up into 4 parts and then releasing it the way it was released, which once again, that could have business reasons. It didn't quite feel right. Because this, while the chapters are a little episodic, and I did like how they kind of put all of that together, they just put stories together because I felt like they were more separated in the manga. They did a good job of kind of inserting stories into other stories without taking away from either story. I just felt as though it could have just been all together. But once again, that could be because of business reasons. But I do feel like it fit better together because while the chapters were episodic, it did feel like, okay, it's all still one cohesive story. It felt a little choppy to me. Maybe it's because week to week. Maybe if I just straight up binged it, maybe I feel differently. But anyway, the last thing I want to talk about is just how the stories were adapted. So like one thing that really sticks out to my mind is the mosquitoes, like the pregnant women that were eating people. And this is spoiler, I guess I should say, but if I'm talking about it, But anyway, I really like how it was just as gross and as disgusting, as scary, as haunting and vivid as I thought it would be. That's one thing that I feel as though you never want to take from Junji Ito is how haunting and grimacing his imagery can be. And I think that the anime did a pretty good job of adapting that. At least when something was supposed to be scary, I felt like the animation was boosted. And they were like, we're going to get this point across. So I really enjoyed that. And that's for everything. I think it really stuck out with me with the mosquito episode, like when Kyrie is in the hospital and whatnot, but you also have it at the beginning where Shuichi's dad is put into that little container thing. You also have it like towards the end with not with the snail, but the snail was kind of in the middle, so you have it there as well. You have it with the hair. Like when there was images that was supposed to be creepy. Also, the girl who had the scar on her head when that whole scene where she absorbs the guy and like all of that, the bones creaking, like all of that. The main parts in this manga where you're looking and like that's a horrifying panel. I think they did a really good job of putting that in the manga or in the anime and doing a really good job of showing you like this is what you're here to see. Everything else was a little lackluster, which we're about to get into that. But overall, the key points, the things that really stick out when you walk away from this manga, I think they did a really good job of highlighting that in the anime. Now, for the bad, the animation at times was a joke, and I think that as much as I said that they did really good job at like the key points, stuff that didn't quite matter, they just let it go. And like I said, we all know that from everything I've read and seen, it's for business reasons. They were just screwed by the production company apparently, and it was just a lot of other issues that were out of the animator's control. If that is true, then I get it, but it still was a little underwhelming because you would have this great scene of something happening, something looking gross, something looking disgusting, but then you have the scene where I can't remember the name, but the girl and the guy are running to the beach. That looked poor. That just did not look good at all. But then you have scenes like, as I mentioned, the girl with the scar, and then showing that. Like, that's a huge panel when people talk about Uzumaki. And as good as that looked, there was times where, like, I specifically remember in one episode, the brother was about to go to the lighthouse, and he was telling Kyrie about it. And as she was looking at him, all you could see with the back of his head, it was just kind of like moving up and down, like South Park animation style. And it was just weird. Like, it was just weird. Like, you could have just had him sit there and, we could have saw it from that angle. But the animation in that part just kind of made it. It's like, why even really animate that? But there was times where, some beautiful animation would be going on. But then if you look, like, there was, like, almost like paper mache. Like, I don't know. It looked like, there's video games that remind me of this, but I can't quite remember what they are. But there's video games that kind of have that kind of animation where it's like the paper mache, but like something else is moving in the background, but they kind of cut the budget elsewhere. That's just what it looked like. And sometimes it really took you out of the story because it wasn't as detailed as, as other parts. And I get it. Like I said, I think they did a really good job of giving you what you showed up for. But also, I think in the manga, while everything may not be the most detailed, everything is just, it looks gritty. Everything looks like it just belongs. And I think at times with the animation here, it just felt like you're watching two different scenes into one, and it just didn't look good. And it was just jarring. I know I wanted to say that in my head earlier, but I don't know if I did. But it was just jarring where, you get some good animation, bad animation, good animation, bad animation, bad, good. And then, or you'll have good animation and then like bad animation like in the background or on the side, but like the characters themselves will look good. It was a lot of that. It was just very inconsistent. Once again, all of that being said, I think that it looked good as well. I can't say look good, but I think they did a good a job executing as they possibly could. Like I don't want to put too much on the animators if what had happened or what has been said is true. If not, then obviously that's a different discussion. But if what has been said is true about, and that's maybe a whole nother conversation that maybe we need to talk about. But if what is said is true about just them getting screwed over by production and them just not having time and them trying their best, and you can tell, like that's the thing. It wasn't like the whole thing was piss poor. Like there was really, really good moments in the animation. And I think that's all this was missing from being a good little series for Halloween. But anyway, let me know what your thoughts are. That's really the only gripe I had was the animation and just how inconsistent it was and just how blatantly obvious the inconsistencies were. Outside of that, I thought the adaptation was pretty good. It was a fun watch. And it made me appreciate the story even more because I already, like once I did that live stream, I was like, I kind of like it. Now that I think about it, I really like it. Watching the anime, it made me want to read it again because it's like, no, I actually, now that I think about it, I really enjoyed this. But anyway, let me know what your thoughts are. Overall, I think I enjoyed the series. It's just the animation. And like I said, it could be a bigger topic for another day. But I think they did a good job as they possibly could adapting this great manga into an anime.